Hi, it's Vanessa Love. I told someone that I was going to do this response video, and I did kind of a dry run, a test run of it, and I think I did okay. So I just wanted to, actually record one. So let me start this video. It's called Top 10 Reasons Not to Move to Connecticut. Harvard made another list. This is by The World According to Briggs. Yeah, so we're going to start that. I'm not going to actually show the video.
Hey, what is going on, everyone? How about we go a third round with New England and take a look at the Constitution state, Connecticut. Connecticut has some other lesser-known nicknames: the Nutmeg State, the Provision State, and the Land of Steady Habits. Now, the last one I know sounds...
So he's going to go on about this. What I do want to say is that early settlers would probably be really appealing to have, the land of steady habits, because if you're a farmer or whatnot, and I know he mentions politicians, but like if you're a farmer, the land of steady habits sounds like you just steadily have things to do.
It's like I made it up, but I assure you it's a real nickname. It's a real nickname that origins go all the way back to the 1800s. The Land of Steady Habits was associated with Connecticut's tradition of assuring political stability through repeatedly electing the same officials to high office, even if they sucked at it. To me,
that kind of sounds like hyperbole, but okay.
To me, that sounds more like something you'd say about maybe a drug-infested neighborhood,
It's really in poor taste to say that about like Connecticut. Not that I want to knock this guy for making a joke, but I'm like, there are a lot of people dying from heroin at this point. So I don't find it in good taste. Personal preference.
The land of steady habits. These people got a habit and they can't break it. Anyway, Connecticut has a long maritime history and reputation based on that history.
So I think that it's great that we have that history, because we always it's better to have the connection and talk about the connection. I feel like, that there's definitely there's so much going on in Connecticut that it has been a staple and a very important part of history. So I don't see why the maritime would be a problem, especially most of the cities other than Hartford are all along the coast, because that's where early settlers went. They went to the coast. That's where there was money to be made, as well as, fresh water.
The state has no direct ocean front, technically speaking. The coast off Connecticut sits along the Long Island Sound, which is an estuary. Here it is right here.
Maybe I just don't understand what an estuary is, but I thought estuaries were low, areas with a lot of flourishing, sea life, whereas the sound is called a sound because of the way that it's made, and it is distinct. It's a distinct way of it's this distinct body of water that's and it's important to how it's formed. I know it's kind of a weird thing, but I'm you're pointing it out on a map. I'm like, yeah, but also Connecticut and New York, Long Island are very this is why Connecticut was so important, to American history. But all right, cool.
See, it's not really connected to it doesn't have ocean front. It is connected, but it's not really. Do you get what I'm saying? Connecticut is one of our smaller states, being 48th in size and 29th in population. The Nutmeg State is our 5th state, being admitted into the Union January 9th, 1788. Connecticut is one of those states that more people are leaving than coming in.
I have a problem with this statistic, and I'll mention this more because this guy mentions it later on in the video.
Out of 100 people moving, 43 move in while 57 move out. A little bit of a deficit there. If you ever dreamed about living in the land of steady habits, you might want to watch my top 10 reasons not to move to Connecticut. Number 10, really strange laws.
I mean, I get why you would want to talk about really strange laws, because that is informed by the community itself. So, if there is a strange law, like don't have, what was that really weird one? Like don't have ice cream in your back pocket on a Sunday or something. Like, you know, something had happened clearly that so much of something had happened. I'm guessing that, they had to do that law. But I mean, I get it. It's just like, but every state has that. And also every state is also at the forefront of some legal issue. And I'm guessing because of the incident in Newington, right? Newtown, that we are at a forefront for how to kind of manage with people who do hunt, but still having regulations on some of the firearms that people have.
Now, I always bring this one up because
that would influence other states and how they're doing their, laws about gun ownership and all of that.
I think it's important to give you an idea of how they are. When you have strange laws on the books, it really does give you insight to the thinking of the community, the state, whatever. So I always bring this one up. Some people, why would that be a reason not to move it? Just go with it. They have a couple really strange ones. The first one is during the evil clown epidemic of 2016. Yeah, that's what they call it, the evil clown epidemic, where all those idiots were going around scaring people dressed like a clown. I thought it was hysterical.
Some of this is like, just goes on a little bit long. Tangents and all, which is, I mean, it's commentary, but it's also like, okay, like, come back. We don't need your opinion on everything. Just come back, say the facts.
But apparently became a problem in Connecticut. Connecticut had it so bad that law enforcement felt a need to outlaw dressing as a clown with the intent to cause alarm. Children?
Okay, so like, I think that the reasoning behind that would be if you want to arrest someone, you have to have something to arrest them on. So I would guess that arresting them on an issue like we think that you are dressing as a clown to be menacing would be much easier because people are jerks. So you can't just be like, well, I'm arresting you. You have to be like, I'm arresting you because, and like if the person's just walking around, not like seemingly menacing or like threatening anyone, then you can't be like, well, you were a menace or you were threatening to someone. Like you have to have something that would, help you to arrest them. So yeah, like, of course you need a law like that.
Birthday parties were an exception. Clowns are just weird. Why do people...
Clowns are weird, but that's really, really, really beside the point.
Do that in the first place. I don't get it. Anyway, they also enjoy a good dumb dog. Connecticut is one of the highest educated states in the country. However, they have actually a law in the books that people are not allowed to educate their dogs.
I'm going to guess that there was some jerk who wanted their dog, probably many jerks who were like, I want to bring my dog into school. And, laws, like rules and everything. And so they're like, well, why can't I just say that my dog is a student? And so that's probably where this law comes from, because it just sounds like people were being jerks.
For some reason, years back, a Hartford official felt the need to make it illegal to educate your dog. I think that's good because I have a bulldog pug combination. I don't think there's any educating that thing. She's ridiculous. I just think it'd be throwing good money away trying to educate my dog. So I kind of see the point in this one. Number 9, lack of Connecticut culture. Now this one I got from a high school friend who's lived in Connecticut.
I have a lot to say about this one.
New Haven to be exact, since she got out of college in 1990. It's one of those ones you wouldn't pick up on unless you lived there. Connecticut lacks things uniquely Connecticut. Want to go to a bar? You're going to have to go to Applebee's. You want coffee? It's Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, and that's it. Connecticut only seems to have the big box stores and generic big companies. Notice I said seems. Stop typing. I'm sure you can give me a couple examples of some mom and pop places around where you live, but they are few and far between. Starting a local business is extremely expensive.
Okay, so you're throwing a lot of things in here. So first I want to say that New Haven does not have a lot of box stores. New Haven has a lot of businesses that are remotely for like in New Haven. Like if you go to Bar Pizza, like you're going to bar pizza. There's like I know that there's the Egyptian pizza place. That I've never seen an Egyptian pizza place like after that. You know, there's not chains. You don't drink at Applebee's. Even the small towns have some mom and pop pizza place and bar, and like a couple of other like little places that people work. Um, like it's very like I lived out in the country for 4 years, and I didn't mean to be a bumpkin, but it totally turned into where this person got and this also, if this person has lived in New Haven since 1990, like that, first of all, kind of old data, but second of all, it just, where, tune in the cafe. I have never been into tune in. I have heard repeatedly about tune in, and there's all sorts of venues that aren't like commercial venues. Like we don't, I mean, I guess it's a good and bad thing. Like we don't have commercial venues. Like we don't have that many. But there are some amazing places where people play, and like everyone knows where they are because, well, we're all from Connecticut. You figure it out.
And not worth the headache in Connecticut. Then you factor in the declining population.
Also, like, although like Dunkin' Donuts is on every like corner and everything, there's a lot of still mom and pop tea and coffee shops. I'm trying to think, like, I mean, I know that there's a bunch in New London, but the place where all the locals hang out isn't Dunkin' Donuts unless it's after hours. It's Washington Street Cafe, and it was the Bean and Leaf before that, when the Bean and Leaf was around. You know, so like, you know, I know you're like, well, it's occasional. No, they're actually everywhere. We don't actually like going to them. New London's whole community, especially in downtown, is all about shopping locally. And New Haven is the same way. My dad came to visit for my graduation, and he wanted to have Texas Longhorn, which I thought was the stupidest thing ever. Because first of all, you had to drive to Orange to get to that place, that restaurant. And also, I thought it was ridiculous. Like, why would you want to go on vacation and not have an interesting experience? We went to a steak place, like an upscale steak place, and he hated it. But it was one of the local places because that's what, like, I've learned as I've been more and more of a nutmegger to like to appreciate, and like you support your local businesses because you usually know them. But like, and I can tell you histories of places and be like, oh yeah, so that guy is related to this guy, and that guy owns everything, and this person is related to this person by this person. I can tell you a history. But you know, like, I just like it doesn't make any sense to me to want to go to like a box store or drink at Applebee's unless there's trivia there. Like there's in Mystic, um, and like Stonington Groton, like you can go to Applebee's and 99, but like you're most likely going to want to go to Margaritas and Harp and Hound for trivia because it's interesting, it's better, you know the people, and that's where the locals go. If you're visiting, of course, you go to whatever you kind of know, I guess, but I don't know. Like, I'm just so used to being like, all right, well, this is the pizza place in town, and it's the mom and pop pizza place. It's not Domino's. Sorry, a lot of Connecticut is like the coastline is built up, but like the country isn't. And so the people who live in the country like living in the country. They like knowing their neighbors and then having their distance. Like it's people feel comfortable with that. They're good with that. And then, you know, having the one pizza place in town is perfectly fine. I still make jokes about my life in New London because I find that hysterical. Things like, well, I called the Mexican food place, which I love. I would still go and eat there no matter what. But like I called them one day and they were like, yeah, we're not delivering today because the delivery guy didn't show up. Small town shit. Oh my God. Like if there's a reason not to move to Connecticut, it's that. But I live in Stamford now, so it's not bad. And in living in Stamford, I've gone to Cask Republic, which I know is like a chain, and I have been to the Cheesecake Factory once. Everything else is so awesome. Like, I don't want to go and like find other places, like, especially like if you know that the steak that you're going to get at whatever place is going to be the steak at all the places that chain is, that it's really not important. And like, it's funny because like in New London, like a lot of the like commercial places are on the outside of town, and like I worked next to Outback Steakhouse. I went there twice in the 8 years, 7 years, 6 years, however long I lived there. Went there twice, and I felt like I was betraying the local community by going there. And I know that they put in a Denny's too, and I never went there.
And it makes even less sense to start one now. Now, she did give me a couple examples around the colleges that they do have neighborhood bars or whatever.
A couple of examples.
But there are very few compared to other states and other major cities. She also said if you're ever in New Haven, you need to eat at Frank's Pizza Place.
Never, never, never. Also, if that's a local place, there's 3 locations. The one in New Haven is one of the fucking worst. Like, don't go there. The pizza, Pepe and Sally's, which we don't call it Frank's, Pepe's and Sally's are not that interesting. They're popular because they're popular, and that's how they maintain their popularity. They're actually not great, and I would never give any one of them a cent. I When I did my internship at AIDS Project New Haven, my supervisor and his boyfriend went to, along with a group of people, went to Sally's, and they never, they never cooked his food. They weren't going to serve him, but they, have their subtle ways. Like, it's an hour and a half after you've ordered, and everyone around you has received all of their food, and no one at your table has received their food. They had like a 7-Up or something and paid for it and left because it was ridiculous how they were being treated. So that's why. And I know my fiance has gone there, and he got the Clams Casino, and the pie. And he said that it was really, really terrible. And we all know, the New Havenites know that Pepe's and Sally's, they usually, if it's like a weekend, and especially a summer weekend, they will they will put their ovens on higher so that it's a higher turnaround, obviously, because you don't want people, hanging around like being hungry, and it makes their food worse. So I don't recommend them. If you do want real like pizza, then Bar Pizza is great, and then across the street is Lou's Lunch. Lou's Lunch is considered to have the first hamburger if you don't consider the bun. If you think that that a hamburger has to have a bun, then that's not the first place for the hamburger. But it's toasted. It's toast on both sides, and they only serve burgers. That's it. They don't serve anything else, and God forbid you ask for ketchup. But you know what? Maybe you should. Maybe you should.
She called it Frank's Pepe or something like that.
Skipping all
Number
that.
8. Moving out. Connecticut is ranked 4th in states with the highest percentage of outbound moves at 57%. Kind of touched on that in.
Okay, so I actually looked up the statistic because I love looking up statistics, and I looked at the raw data, and the raw data says that this is based on about 2,000 moves, in and out of Connecticut, and it's from United Van Lines. It's one moving company. Their rank for number 1 as far as last year from 2017 was Vermont, and Vermont actually continues to be the top, but they did 254 moves out or into Vermont, and that's the statistic that is used to say that Vermont is the one that's most like the state that has the most people moving into it, and I don't think that that's reflective. Also, this statistic does not account for things like first-time students moving into the Yale dorms or moving out of the Yale dorms. Does that count as one move? Because I mean, well, I guess it would count as two moves. Um, like that's not accurate. Also, things that would influence things like that are not only like the economy or jobs, it's where manufacturing is taking place, especially for submarines, because we do have a military submarine base, the sub base, and so there are people coming in and out of Connecticut because of the sub base. Are we counting the people who are moving to and out of Groton, Connecticut, where the sub base is, as part of that? Because that doesn't seem fair that we would be lumped in with the military. And also with the submarines, there are specific companies like Electronic Boat who are, that's their main focus. But to my knowledge, because I'm here, I'm active, it's Rotary, I know so much. I hear so much about this stuff. Manufacturing a submarine in Vermont, or not Vermont, Virginia, they're actually faster at it. So some of the stuff that would be in Connecticut is actually being like moved down to Virginia. So, and then it's also part of the manufacturing goes up to Maine. It's a very weird thing, but so that's also could be an influence. And there's a lot of laws that like things like incentives for businesses. They've really tried to do that, and they've gotten fucked over by businesses who come into a city, create all of these jobs, they get the tax breaks, then they don't stay. So they take everyone with them. This is notorious. I think Pfizer did that in like New London. Everyone was really upset because like they did all of this stuff, and then it was like, and then Pfizer left. Like, oh, well, did we put anything in the contract to keep them here? No, they got their tax break and then they
opening of this video. Residents are leaving, and it's no surprise to anyone. The older generation doesn't want to deal with the cold and the tax on their retirement, and the younger generation can't.
Okay, so I had to look up the statistic on the taxes on retirement because I have not heard this before. And yes, it is very sad, actually. Like I'm looking at all of the caveats on this, and it's like, oh, Jesus. Is supposed to be a tax-free like thing, but Connecticut can like
and find jobs, which brings us to our next on this list. Number 7, unemployment. Unemployment as of June 2018 is 4.5%. In Hartford, it's 7.8%.
Okay, hold on, let me go on.
Where the national average is about 3.7%. This is where I have to tell you that this stat changes monthly. So stop typing. It might be different 2 months down the line.
Okay, so I'm not upset at you for using this statistic. I'm actually, no, I am. Like, I just think that using 1 month's statistic is dumb. Like, is there an average for a year? Because that seems like that would be a better gauge as to whether there are jobs in Connecticut.